licensing. That storm looks like a mean one.
When my storm reaches the Smurfs...
You remember the Smurfs, right? Cute, blue, harmless, singing la 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 in their mushroom houses? Well, that's the most you'll hear from the Smurfs theme song in this video, thanks to copyright licensing, unfortunately. Loyal fans on this channel remember in my last video with the Smurfs, theme song had to be cut out. But what if I told you this innocent cartoon had episodes so disturbing, so controversial, they'd never make it past the pitch meeting in today's world? From zombie-like infections to bizarre political messages to gender roles that will make you do a double take, this is not the Smurfs village you remember. These episodes actually aired. But now, there's no way they'd survive modern TV. And once you hear about what really happened in these storylines, you'll never look at the Smurfs the same way again. Grab your vintage Smurfs DVD in the description below if you dare. And don't forget to hit that super thanks if this ruins your childhood like it did mine.
All right, Smurfs, gather around.
This one didn't just cross a line, it chewed it up, snarled like a demon, and spit it out like a rabid, foam-mouthed Smurf. Originally based on the 1963 Belgian comic The Black Smurfs, this episode was adapted for US audiences under a new name, The Purple Smurf. But don't let the color change fool you. This wasn't just a palette swap, it was a full-on horror story. It starts with a seemingly innocent bite from a purple fly, but that single moment spirals into an uncontrollable epidemic. The infected Smurf doesn't just feel sick, he loses all sense of identity. His pupils vanish, his skin turns purple, and then he snaps. Gone is the cheerful village worker. What's left is a snarling, groaning creature who can only scream one thing: nap, nap, and then he bites someone else, and another, until the whole Smurf village becomes a nightmarish outbreak zone. They don't just walk, they leap and lunge at each other like infected animals. There's no cure, no vaccine, no magical spell that works right away. Just chaos. It's kind of like watching 28 Days Later unfold, only instead of British civilians, it's a bunch of tiny blue creatures infecting each other through violent attacks. And here's the kicker. This aired on Saturday morning for kids. Even Shane Skylerud remembered it vividly and commented, just like the Smurfs episode when they got turned purple and bit each other. It stuck with people. Not because it was fun, but because it was genuinely terrifying. This wasn't an isolated episode either. The animation, the sound effects, the unsettling tone, it all played out like a zombie movie with no warning label. Can you imagine any modern preschool cartoon showing characters turning feral, losing their humanity, and biting their friends to spread a virus? Absolutely not. The censors would have shut it down before it made it to the storyboard. But back then, this kind of thing slipped right into our brains. And now, decades later, it still haunts us. But if you thought Purple Smurfs were disturbing, wait until you hear how Papa Smurf may have secretly been pushing communist propaganda, and how the show's biggest villain might actually have been the good guy all along.
I hate Smurf days. Not yet, Greedy.
Make a wish.
Papa Smurf wears red. He's got a long white beard, he runs a village where no one owns anything, money doesn't exist, and everyone works for the greater good. Sound familiar? What looks like a charming forest village actually operates more like a utopian commune. Every Smurf has one job, and no one steps out of line. There's a baker, a jokester, a strongman, a brainiac, but no competition, no ambition, no climbing the Smurf career ladder. Just obedience. And who's in charge of this little blue society? Papa Smurf, a red-capped elder who centralizes all decision-making, solves every crisis, and basically runs the village like a benevolent dictator. Now here's one for our viewers, at Freeman Pennington-JE5TN. Didn't beat around the mushroom bush when he commented, "The Smurfs is actually about trying to brainwash children into believing socialism is benevolent." That might sound like a wild take, but he's not alone. There's actually been academic analysis of this theory. Some scholars argue that the Smurfs intentionally reflects utopian socialism, a political ideology where individual ownership is abolished and community well-being is everything. The Smurfs live in identical mushroom houses. They don't use money, and if anyone disrupts the social order, enter the villain, Gargaml. But here's where it gets really weird. Gargaml isn't trying to conquer the world or destroy cities. He's not Thanos or Skeletor. His goal? To capture Smurfs and turn them into gold. Let that sink in. He's the greedy outsider trying to profit off of a peaceful, collectivist society. A textbook capitalist caricature. He represents greed, corruption, the dangers of privatizing purity. And in that lens, he's not just a villain, he's the enemy of the ideology. And Papa Smurf, he's not just a father figure, he's Karl Marx in red pajamas. Could this have been intentional or just a bizarre coincidence? It's hard to say. Let's be honest. If a children's show aired today with this kind of messaging, the backlash would be instant. Cartoon brainwashing your kids into socialism. Blue communists invading Saturday mornings. Papa Smurf cancels the free market. It would be on Twitter, TikTok, Fox News, CNN, Instagram, and probably every Facebook group your aunt follows. Whether you believe the theory or not, the subtext is undeniable. A society where free will is minimal, jobs are assigned, and wealth is irrelevant, except to the one guy trying to steal it all. And yet, back in the 80s, nobody blinked. It aired, we watched it, and we sang the song. You're probably thinking of the song right now, without ever asking why only one Smurf had power, or why none of them wanted anything more than what they were given. But just when you think that's the strangest thing about the Smurf society, wait until you learn how the one female Smurf was created by the villain as a form of psychological warfare, and how her magical makeover carried a message that would spark outrage in today's world.
Once and for all.
You think Smurf Fett was the token girl character? Think again. Her backstory isn't just outdated. It's straight up disturbing by today's standards. Smurf Fett wasn't born in the village. She wasn't part of the original Smurf crew. She didn't even exist until Gargaml made her. That's right. The villain of the show created Smurf Fett as a biological weapon. Not a monster, not a spell. A female Smurf clone, crafted from clay and sorcery, designed to destroy the Smurfs from within.
Hey! Ow! You startled me. Who are you?
I'm a Smurf. Who are you?
I'm a Smurf Fett.
She wasn't built to fight them physically. She was built to manipulate them. Emotionally, romantically, psychologically. The idea was simple. Introduce the first woman into an all-male society and let chaos ensue. And it does. When she first appears, she has jet black hair, an unstable personality, and causes complete disorder in the village. She's needy, jealous, attention-seeking, and insecure. It's textbook crazy woman stereotype. But then, Papa Smurf steps in, and this is where it gets morally twisted. He uses magic to fix her. Her black hair turns blonde, her mood becomes calm, she suddenly becomes sweet, submissive, and lovable, and just like that, the Smurfs embrace her. The message? A wild, emotional woman with dark features is dangerous. But a sweet, blonde, quiet girl? She's acceptable. It's literally transformed the chaotic woman into a submissive blonde so men will like her. It's jaw-dropping once you realize what's happening. You couldn't pitch that storyline today without being shredded in a pitch meeting. It would end up as a Twitter thread with 90,000 likes and a full expose on how retro cartoons reinforce damaging gender roles. Even Flatbushman 20XX93 pointed it out, saying, "You gotta do the ladies justice. The girls of the time were eating up Care Bears, the Smurfs, JEM." But at least those shows had multiple female characters. The Smurfs? Just one. Smurf Fett. The lone woman, surrounded by 100 men, created by a man, fixed by a man, and accepted only after her makeover. She didn't have her own backstory, she didn't have goals, her sole narrative purpose was to be pretty, be rescued, and be desired. It's subtle, it's baked in, but it's there. And now that we're looking back through the 2025 lens, it's impossible not to see the messaging. Whether it was intentional or not, Smurf Fett's origin is one of the most bizarre, unsettling, and unairable backstories in cartoon history. But here's the wild part. If you think Smurf Fett being engineered as a tool of manipulation is bad, just wait until you see what happened when an imposter Smurf infiltrated the village, and no one even noticed. Because in a world where everyone acts the same, how do you know who's real?
Hello, fellow Smurf.
Oh, hi! Have some sarsaparilla leaf.
Oh, yes, sure.
What happens when someone pretends to be a Smurf and no one notices? It sounds like a setup for a silly prank episode. But what unfolds is far more disturbing than anyone expected from a children's cartoon. In this eerie storyline, Gargaml finally does something shockingly effective. He disguises himself as a Smurf, physically transforming to match their tiny blue appearance, and infiltrates the village with one sinister goal: destroy them from the inside. And here's the terrifying part: it works. Effortlessly. Not a single Smurf notices that something is off. No one questions his presence. No one says, "Wait a second, who are you?" Why? Because in the Smurfs world, everyone is defined by a role, not by individuality. Brainy lectures, hefty lifts, jokey explodes presence. Everyone stays in their lane. So when Gargaml slips into the system and performs just well enough, he blends in seamlessly. There's no suspicion, no curiosity, just complete robotic acceptance. And that's what makes this episode so psychologically disturbing. It plays out more like a dystopian thriller than a cartoon. The core message hits hard. If you mimic the behaviors of a system well enough, people will trust you, even if you're their worst enemy. The Smurfs aren't lying on relationships, emotions, or intuition. They're operating on autopilot, and it's horrifying. Gargaml doesn't need magic or brute force, just a good disguise and a decent impersonation. It's a blueprint for how blind obedience can let evil walk right through the front door. This isn't just goofy storytelling, this is dark social commentary hidden inside a bright, cheerful cartoon. Today, this episode would absolutely explode on TikTok and YouTube breakdown channels. The think pieces would ask, what does this say about our own society? How often do we overlook imposters just because they look just like they belong? It would become a trending conversation around identity, surveillance, and the dangers of sameness. And if you thought that was unsettling, wait until you meet Big Mouth, a recurring character who'd become one of the most shockingly inappropriate parts of the entire Smurfs legacy. Because once you see how this character was treated, for laughs, you'll realize the show didn't just flirt with dystopia. It went full speed into fat phobia, cruelty, and cartoon bullying that would never fly in today's world.
Big Mouth love you.
One of the weirdest and most uncomfortable recurring characters in Smurfs history, that would be Big Mouth. If you don't remember him, he was a towering, slow-witted, always hungry ogre who appeared in several episodes throughout the series. From the moment he enters the screen, it's clear what his role is: to be the butt of every joke. He's depicted as grotesquely oversized, bumbling, clumsy, and completely ruled by his appetite. And the writers made sure to milk that for every ounce of comedy that they could wring out of him. In nearly every episode he appears in, Big Mouth is relentlessly mocked for his weight, his lack of intelligence, and his overwhelming desire for food. The Smurfs trick him, insult him, manipulate him, and humiliate him. Not because he's evil, but because he's seen as too stupid to notice what's going on. His eating is exaggerated to the point of absurdity, often used as a plot device to make him seem less human, more animalistic. He's not just a big guy with an appetite, he's a walking stereotype designed for the audiences to laugh at, not with. In fact, the show regularly treats him like a joke character that exists solely to take abuse and never evolve. If a character like this aired in a cartoon today, there would be immediate backlash. Parents would be flooding message boards, TikTok would erupt with video essays, articles would drop with headlines like, "The Smurfs Fat Phobia Problem," or "Why Big Mouth is the character that should have been left in the 80s. And rightfully so. Big Mouth embodies the worst kind of outdated media trope. The fat, dumb glutton whose value is reduced to his ability to be mocked and manipulated. There's no nuance, no depth, just a steady stream of visual and verbal abuse for easy laughs. The really disturbing part is that this was considered completely acceptable in the era it aired. Kids were spoon-fed this messaging under the illusion of harmless humor. Laughing at the fat, dumb guy wasn't questioned, it was encouraged. And that's what makes Big Mouth so unsettling to revisit now. He's a time capsule of how cruelty was normalized in children's entertainment, all while being masked with cheerful music and colorful animation. It wasn't teaching a lesson or building empathy. It was reinforcing shallow stereotypes that stuck in our heads long after the credits rolled. And what's wild is, this wasn't an isolated one-off. He showed up in multiple episodes, meaning this wasn't just an accidental misstep. It was part of the show's DNA. And while some might argue it was just a product of its time, it's worth asking, what messages were we absorbing without even realizing it? Because when you take a step back, it becomes clear. The Smurfs weren't always just innocent fun. Alright, so did the Smurfs really teach us valuable life lessons? Or were they accidentally, or maybe not so accidentally, planting disturbing messages in our little blue brains? From zombie plagues and communist villages to gender politics and body-shaming ogres, there's a reason these episodes would never air today. And if you made it this far, congratulations. You just unlocked a childhood memory you might want to forget. So drop a comment and let me know which Smurfs moment creeped you out the most as a kid. And keep those comments coming. You might even be featured in the next video. Or did you somehow miss all of this while singing la 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 la? Thanks a bunch for watching, and don't forget to grab your Smurfs DVD in the description, hit that like button, and smash that super thanks if you want more ruined childhoods every week. I'll be in the comments replying to the best theories. See you next time.